you have tremendous success in Battlestar Galactica,
Mm.
and I'd like to talk about him later. Uh, but Jarrod Kane was introduced in an episode of season 8 called Icon, a home planet of Tegalus. And it is a planet where the people have they've kept the Stargate secret, if I'm remembering correctly, but the crap really hits the fan inside of and outside of the Rand Protectorate when knowledge of this thing exists, and it brings the people to nuclear war. Who was this guy to you, especially with his wife? We saw a lot of that the side of that story through Daniel. And what do you recall from that first episode?
That was probably the first episode of TV where I really felt I was doing something special.
Mm.
They made the uniforms for us. You know, that had never really happened before. Like it was like literally taking our measurements and making us stuff from fabric, cutting, sewing, you know, and so there was that vibe and just the uniform itself.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was this sort of historic bent to it, you know, like if you looked at our rifles, there's
Mm-hmm.
something very practical about that. That was like, you know, again, that appeared sort of in Battlestar, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what the Battlestar was, this sort of, it survived because of its history. Um, I recognize the story. You know, it's not uncommon. It's around the world. There are uprisings like that all the time. There are wars like that all the time. And there was this character that was out fighting, you know, for the people, essentially. It was a great job. It was the first time I'd worked with Michael.
Mm.
Um, he was awesome to work with. We had a great time, you know, spent a lot of time hanging out. The stuff we did there was a lot of walking and talking in that show, a lot of walking and talking. But we were outside for it, which was great. And I remember the days, there was 2 days where we did it all, and it was like very late spring, early summer. And, you know, it was one of those moments where you go, this is just an incredible job. I have the best job. Like, you know, overall, between action and cut, acting is wicked job. Like I can't think of anything better than it. You know, it's a pretty amazing job.
Mm.
Um, yeah, there was a lot of other things about it. There was the shootout scene, that sequence.
Very violent, close
Yeah,
quarters,
we
earplugs.
there were a lot of earplugs in there, man. It was like we shot 10,000 rounds, and you don't see that. That's what sort of that sort of struck me actually when I watched it recently. Is like how little of that we saw. Like we spent a half day just firing, and it was all in studio, and it was very loud, and we all smelled like gunpowder, and it was, you know, it was pretty hardcore. And then, you know, it's like anything with filmmaking, a lot of it hits the floor, right? It just doesn't make it into the cut.
For sure. No, there's a lot going on there. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Rob Fournier rather well, and the
Yeah,
amount of
Rob's a
stuff that
great guy.
has to go into this is just mind blowing. The
Yeah,
amount of stuff, like you say, that doesn't get seen, that ends up
yeah.
on the proverbial cutting room floor to make the final piece. It's outrageous in some cases. 10,000 rounds. I'm not surprised at all, and that's a lot of money.
Well, they had
He
the
had to
machine
load all
guns and all the
those.
stuff, right? It was just, it was
Yeah.
a big deal. It was a big deal, you know. They had set still photographers out as well.
Hmm.
So you always know, like, it's like, oh, this is kind of an important episode if they bring photographers out to shoot on set. You know, that was all happening. There was just so much about it. It was just a very cool experience.
Was did anything resonate with you in terms of the story? Both of these episodes are really dark, especially the second one with how the second one ends. Um, you have a people who are basically trapped by their the people at their border, the Caledonians, if I'm not mistaken, and the then in the second one with the Ori coming from above,
Mm.
giving them advanced technology, but ultimately, I mean, they could use it to destroy their own planet. I love sci-fi as a metaphor for turning things back on us and showing us just how bad they can be if we take 1 inch of a wrong turn just a plunge into a terrible direction. And we see that come to life in this one.
Yeah. It's again, it's something that's very prevalent today. You just have to look around the world, and it's, that, like you said, it's a great thing about science fiction is it's a mirror. And unfortunately, the stories really don't change over time. They just continue to repeat. We don't seem to learn as human beings, and how hard, fast we're stuck on whatever, particular religious leaning we have, or our ideology. And it's like, if you're thinking something else, then we cannot be friends, and you've got to go. The absolute refusal to cooperate, I guess you could say. And it's happening today. It's remarkable. It's just remarkable.
Ron Moore, put it into Battlestar, and he said he stole it from Peter Pan. All of this has happened before, and it will happen again. That resonates with a lot with me. I think about that all the time. When you look back on these episodes, do anything stand out in terms of the production value, the quality of the folks that you were working with, in terms of what it was that they were creating? It's 8 and 9 seasons of a 10-season show. They've really refined their craft. Did you pick anything up along the way?
When something's running that long, it's obviously found a rhythm, and a bunch of things that works, including an audience. And it's not that audiences, if you can create and hold a fan base, then you've got something, and you're doing something right. So that's what I knew about the show at that point. It's like, oh, this is a big deal. I've done some, been to some conventions, and it's a very powerful unifier. I did a bunch for Battlestar, I did some for Battlestar, and my takeaway from those was how a lot of those events and these shows are things that bring people together, and so the sci-fi convention was an opportunity for friends from different countries to come and see each other, and they have this common bond, and it's not just like, you meet people from every walk of life, from every kind of possible job, and they have this thing in common, and it's amazing. Like, as an actor, as a film actor, so if you're in front of the camera, you're working in a vacuum often. You don't know who's seeing this. You don't know what their reaction is. You don't know how important it is, if it's important at all to them whatsoever. So, to go into a show that's like, season 8, season 9, that it's important to people. So that's cool. It's significant. You hope that you will have a positive effect. Your character will, it's not about being liked, but will resonate, and have a positive effect on people, and maybe help people see things, right? It's that's all really storytelling is. It's the human experience, and you're trying to relay that, and bring comfort to people, not only entertainment or, distraction, but education to a degree. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want to educate you, but maybe you'll see something in this story. These themes were relevant, and they're current. They're current. And so, this is a problem. Right? If this is still happening today, and they're talking about it, then this is, something that I need to look at,
They'll making you aware of different ideas, not because necessarily your ideas are wrong, but maybe there's another way of doing something. I think the sci-fi is best when it's not beating you over the head because, well, you're that way and that way just can't be. It's like, okay, well, let's open up the doorway for some questions. What else can there be?
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
else can we do?
Introduce the idea of critical thinking and perspective, right? You know what I mean? And to show a balanced story, which I think both of those episodes did. A little, maybe in the second one, a little heavy-handed, but it's like here's a point of view here. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's the ticket, right? Like if you can, and I don't want to use the word educate, but if you can show people that there is more than one angle to things, then I think you've got something and you're succeeding as a storyteller.
Thanks for watching this clip from Dial the Gate. You can find the full live stream shows on our YouTube channel or visit dialthegate.com for the complete schedule. See you on the other side.